Now released the results of a National Guard Bureau assessment of the Alaska National Guard. A report not only exposing a lack of confidence in command, but also issues involving sexual assaults and how they're investigated. Today, one of the victims spoke out. Channel 2's Blake Essick has her story.
Mike, Melissa Jones says she was raped back in 2007 while serving in the Alaska Army National Guard. More than 7 years later, she says nothing has been done.
I was shocked. I was humiliated, embarrassed.
Melissa Jones, an E4 specialist in the Alaska Army National Guard, was 27 years old at the time she was attacked.
I was out with a group of military peers, and I'd only had like 2 drinks, and somebody slipped something in my drink, and I barely remember taking a cab ride home. I was drugged and then raped in my off-base apartment.
Less than 2 days later, Jones explained what happened to her supervisor. Shortly after, she says her commander confronted her, asking her to tell her story, promising he would only share her story with her first sergeant.
I took a week off after this to try to pull myself together. When I returned to duty, I found that my rape had become known to many people throughout the National Guard building. I was even confronted by a member of my unit telling me he had heard 2 different stories about what had happened to me.
One story involving a gang rape and another version where someone broke into her apartment. Rumors that Jones said she was told came from her commander, a claim the commander would later deny.
I never received any answers as to who leaked my story. I was then told by the Sexual Assault Response Coordinator's office that they would not talk to me because my story had been made public.
Despite filing complaints and confronting leaders, Jones says nothing was ever done. She left Alaska 1 year later after returning from a deployment in Iraq. 4 years later, she attempted suicide from being forced to keep quiet and deal with everything on her own.
Although the rape itself was traumatizing enough, it was also the re-victimization by the Alaska National Guard, by their failure to safeguard my information, that ultimately led to me wanting to take my own life.
She says the importance of confidentiality is critical for soldiers dealing with traumatic events. While happy with the recent Office of Complex Investigation report exposing issues within the Alaska National Guard, Jones says one leader's resignation isn't enough, saying she and others put a lot of trust in Governor Parnell as commander-in-chief, and he should also be held responsible.
I actually think that there needs to be more of an investigation into why Parnell did not respond appropriately.
Wondering why, if this issue was brought to his attention in 2010, why it took another 4 years for him to call for an investigation. Governor Parnell says that despite following up on every allegation since 2010, it wasn't until recently that the governor received specific allegations regarding command structure failure.
It took that deep look with 185 interviews and 1,000 responses to a survey among Guard members. It took that deep a look to get to the bottom of this.
At this point, the governor says he's committed to implementing the recommendations issued in the National Guard Bureau's report. Today, Jones is currently living in Paris, Illinois. She says that she is in the process of being discharged from the military for post-traumatic stress from military sexual trauma and major depressive disorder, mainly because it took so long for her